I had a routine that more or less worked for me for about 30 years of praying until it didn't, and I was feeling adrift. I was battling a mild depression after my father died. I just completed a successful but draining capital campaign to start a new church in a new location. And I just couldn't keep up with the mental effort that my particular way of praying required. So I took my first ever sabbatical. I took about 10 weeks off to study whatever I wanted to study. And I decided to actually stop reading theology and like the nonfiction stuff that I was reading, like business, organizational literature that would help me be a more effective pastor of a growing church, and how to think Christianly about this topic or that topic, and to focus for those 10 weeks on reading science. I chose books that pretty much distilled topics like evolution or particle physics and neurobiology for interested lay people. And what a relief it was, number one, just to get my head out of the reading rut that I had created for myself and into a new space. But it also triggered some unexpected and much welcome changes in my praying life. Reading science, it turns out, helped me to relax in a particular way, which helped me feel more connected to God. So don't get me wrong, the scientific genre, even the books that were aimed at the non-specialists, really kicked my butt in terms of the concentration required and the effort needed to understand what the authors were talking about. But the aim of the effort was different than my theological reading. The aim was not how should things be, but the aim was how are things the way they are? What's happening around us as we observe non-judgmentally and attentively and thoughtfully. So science opened my eyes, oddly, it sounds odd to say this, but science opened my eyes to the wonder of things. I encountered at least as much mystery and paradox and wonder in science as in theology, and I love, and today still love reading theology. Like the notion that once two particles have interacted, once they've been paired, they seem to permanently exert and influence each other, such that when they're separated by even like vast distances, like they're theoretically on the other side of the universe from each other, what happens to one particle has an instantaneous and measurable effect on its previously paired partner. It took a scientist to name it spooky action at a distance. And I'm like, how connected must the world be at a deep and mysterious level for that to be so? Over time, I think it was the posture of the scientific mind, a posture of attentive, non-judgmental, and curious observation. That's what helped me to actually look for God's presence shining in and through the natural world around me, including my own brain. It sounds kind of cliche, but I started paying more attention to the things I could see, touch, taste, smell, and hear. What were all the shades of green on that stand of trees outside my window? How is the interplay of light and wind shaping my visual landscape today? If I took some time just to look attentively outside without having any particular thoughts about God, I found myself in those times of attentive and non-judgmental and curious observation, just relaxing into what I can only understand to be like a transcendent reality beyond my own ken or understanding. So I started practicing actually during this period. I started practicing some of the prayer methods of some contemplative Catholic nuns who were being studied and written about by a couple of cognitive scientists at the University of Pennsylvania, who I guess they hooked the meditating nuns up to some equipment that was measuring blood flow to different regions of the praying brain. And the description of what went on in the brains of the meditating nuns while they were meditating helped me to realize, number one, wow, they are having measurably altered experience of the world around them. Something really is going on in their brains. They're not just like making it up. And then I thought, I could try that too. I could pray the way that they're praying, and it would be fun to see what might happen. And when I did, I experienced some of the same effects that the nuns reported. So, like good effects, feeling less of a separate sense of being a self and more a sense of connection with things that I previously thought of as not me. Concentrating for a period of time on one thing with the frontal lobe and returning to that focus when my mind wandered over and over, and that deafferenting or decreasing the stimulation to the parietal association orientation association part of my brain, which is responsible when it's activated of giving us a very separate sense of the self compared to the world around us. And I had more of a unitive experience, and it was beautiful, and it was wonderful, and it was I felt more connected to the divine. So now, when I'm feeling a little spiritually dry, a little bored, a little in the middle of going through the motions with God, I go to my science bookshelf and I pick out something to read. And I get my mind off myself and whatever my brain has been grinding away at, to spend some time with that scientific posture of non judgmental, curious attention to what is. And I find that when I do, I often feel more connected, more grateful, more open to the wonder of the wonderful world quietly awaiting my attention.